Anyway, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. We're starting 2 minutes late for that. Please forgive me. This is a formal meeting of the Scrutiny Committee. The main focus of this meeting will be to scrutinise the three members of the executive who are on my right. We've got Councillor Brenda Dowding at the far corner there, Councillor Mike Jones, the leader, in the middle, and Councillor Richard Short closest to me. Now, those of you who have been following scrutiny will know that Councillor Mike Jones, the leader, has appeared on 3 occasions already. This is his 4th appearance tonight, so with his indulgence, I'm going to ask Councillor Brenda Dowding to introduce herself first, her portfolio, and briefly what it entails, and then I'm going to ask Councillor Short to do likewise. And I'm going to keep the leader's mouth shut for at least another 2 minutes. Councillor Dowding.
Thank you. Adult social care and health. The social care provision that I'm responsible for is for both adult and for old people, the totality of that care. It also includes strategic commissioning of services for that group, and individual commissioning and prevention services. I think another area that traditionally hasn't been part of this portfolio, but is now, is those very close links with health, because we've recognised how important it is to provide social care and health alongside each other. So we're trying to prevent duplication and improve in that area. It's a large portfolio. It has a budget of, well, when I last looked, it was over 100 million, but as we haven't fixed the budget yet, something has snappened some of that in the meantime. But it is a large portfolio. And the only other thing I'd like to say about it is that we've tried to set out some strategic principles which will operate adult social care and health alongside. I'd just like to read them to you. It means that we are going to attempt to ensure excellence in service delivery. Second principle is that we intend to deliver these services seamlessly, so there shouldn't be any gaps for people to go through. We want to relate and respond to the local population. We want to provide value for money, and we believe that adult services need to be transparent and accountable. That's a very brief overview of my portfolio and the principles along which I intend to deliver it.
Thank you, Councillor Dowding. Councillor Short.
So my responsibility is the culture and recreation. I should say, first of all, I'm just getting over this perpetual flu bug. My voice is a little bit like it's generated to a squeak, actually, and it's very irritating. My responsibilities cover all the bits you see at the front of council, which is the things like parks, recreations, facilities, countryside, allotments, leisure centres, museums, community centres, archives, heritage, all these things which you see as being almost the face of the council. And I hope that is the way in which we can present ourselves, able to provide a service, a frontline service, to the whole range of the community. Of course, as ever, of course, there's this drive to try and make us healthier. And I think when I was appointed to this job, I think the leader here was actually trying to envisage me standing on a diving board in a pair of Speedo trunks, offering myself as an example of not how you should be, but how the health minister would like you to be. And so I hope that I can just say that the things I do are to do with your health, well-being, things you can do for skill, provide culture, tourism, theatre, everything else, which I hope adds to the quality of your life.
The first question, Chairman, refers to the recent severe weather, which saw many footways in both urban and rural areas untreated for several days, leading to an increase in admissions to where need due to people falling. Would the leader consider asking the Director of Environment, perhaps, if he might carry out an urgent review of existing practice to see if improvements might be possible, and if so, could these be funded and in place for next winter? Thank you.
The weather up until that point had been a very dry frost, and the conditions, even though it was -7, I think, on one night when I jumped in my car, were actually not that treacherous. And it wasn't predictable in terms of the sheet of ice that actually appeared in the morning, I think it was Tuesday morning of the 8th. And that was simply because there was a freak weather condition and effectively laid a sheet of ice almost over the entire county, Wirral and Merseyside and wider area of that. Now, when you have a situation like that, it is physically impossible to grit everywhere at once. And I think we have to recognise that is the case. And, you know, I think people think that because we're in the 21st century, we can control nature, and we can't. And I think we know that. So we have to be very realistic about what we do. A lot of the injuries, and I know this from a personal basis, because my father fell and dislocated his shoulder, and a friend of mine also slipped. A lot of injuries actually took place in people's personal gardens, where they just literally walked outside the door, not realising, because they couldn't see the ice, and particularly the elderly, where the sight is perhaps more difficult, actually just slipped over in their garden. And I know my father lay there for about 30 minutes shouting for someone to come and help him, because he was in that sort of situation, in quite a lot of pain. So we are dealing with a particular issue that was very widespread and very difficult. I've asked the officers for some facts on this, just so that people are aware, but in terms of that period of time, the staff covered 36,000 miles in gritting. That's a lot of grit that's put onto that's a salt grit put onto the roads and pavements. Some staff were working almost 72 hours continuous, because clearly when you've got such a major widespread issue, you don't have the capacity to deal with such a widespread issue when it's everywhere. I'm not intending to ask for a special review of the practices and the policy for the County Council. They do have a policy of gritting roads to a certain standard, which is well defined and well known. They do grit more roads than most other county councils. I think they grit over 40% of the roads in any planned period. So the way they actually carry out the function appears to be reasonable in the circumstances. I would add, however, that we are looking at reviewing all the policies of both district councils and county council in all activities, and to assist the executive members and the officers doing that, so we have a member input to ensure that we respond to what the local communities need. We do have the policy development boards, which consist of members. They are 7 members strong, all party, so that all members of our council can be involved in the development of policy. And of course, when you develop a policy, first of all, you prioritise what you need to look at, and then you can actually do the work on those particular policy developments, working with the executive member who has responsibility for policy. So if the Policy Development Board believe that that's one of their urgent items, then I'm quite happy for them to do it. If they believe actually there are more important issues that they need to look at, then clearly that's their choice and the executive member's responsibility to agree that.
There's a white paper out, Our Health, Our Care, Our Say, sets out plans for the future of health and social care, with a vision for services that are tailored to meet individual need, giving people more choice and control over their lives. With an emphasis on adult social care services, how has policy developed, and what changes do you intend to make?
The reforms underway have been started by Cheshire County Council and progressed for some time now to meet the government's agenda of what is called personalisation, which is intended to give people additional choice, as you referred to. So what's happened to date is that it has been agreed that there will be a common assessment framework for everybody requiring adult social care. Now that's different to what has been taking place, because adults have been assessed differently to older people. People with disabilities have been assessed differently. So the first thing that's happening is that there's going to be this common assessment. There's then going to be the ability to allocate resources based on need.